The Around the NFL podcast is more scientific than DDFP.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful San Francisco, California. The Fisherman's Wharf, that's a great place. But here we are at the Media Center, Radio Row. Welcome back to another edition of the Around the NFL podcast. My name is Dan Hanzus. I am joined by a room filled with heroes, Marc Sessler, Chris Wesseling, and Gregg Rosenthal. What up, boys?
Hey, Dan.
It's exciting.
We're back.
Very exciting. Back here at Radio Row. I mean, all the luminaries are all around us, and we're just on a stage, a humble podcast, trying to fit in.
And that the music is cranking here, so if we don't appear to actually understand what any of each other is saying, that is why.
That's genuine. We cannot hear a thing anyone's saying. So
Another thing I don't understand, by the way, is I'm getting banged. I'm getting legit heat on Tuesday's show about wearing a suit jacket, and then the Kissing Cousins show up wearing suit jackets.
We take our cue from you, Dan.
I'll tell you what.
Matching jeans, it's cute.
look,
you guys
it was
are
a
kind of
high-level Machiavellian move on your part, so we've countered.
I have now countered by declaring vengeance upon both of you.
It's not going to go well for you.
All right, this is the Thursday edition of the Around the NFL podcast, live from San Francisco, the site-ish of Super Bowl 50, which is now, guys, just 3 days away. I can't believe, and thank God. I mean, thank God that we're almost here. I think everyone's ready to get to the game. It's the same way every year. I know, Marc, you have been, and we're going to get into it, but you've been embedded with the Denver Broncos. Snoop Dogg showed up today. That's when it's time to get going.
That is, and I think that the players, real quickly, talking to them, they seem ready to say goodbye to the media and all the nonsense and just get on with the game.
Speak for yourself, though. I would love to get angry texts from Marc around 7:30, 8 in the morning, sometimes 6:30 in the morning.
I got a wake-up text from Marc yesterday.
I like getting that every day of my life about he's unhappy with some sort of incident going on at the Broncos availability. Marc has to wake up at 5:30 every morning out here. So
5:30, try 5, Gregg.
Put it this way, I'm looking forward to, after we tape today, getting to the hotel bar, having a few, and then hearing some stories from Marc about what transpired today, a day in the life of Marc Sessler. Last night was a fun night for the old Zeuser. A lot of people are recharging their batteries, but I am the party correspondent, of course, for Around the NFL. View from the 50 blog. I had a +1, and someone stepped up, and it was the great Connie Fox. Colleen Wolfe went as my platonic date to the Jay Glazer party, Glazer Palooza.
I like that you have to point that out. You're both married. I would have assumed it was platonic.
Well, you don't know if Gonzo's listening, if my wife Emily's listening. You just want to get it out there and make it.
Check that box.
Yeah, check that box, exactly. Yeah. And that was a wild party to be at. I still have a lot of things. Some of it I can't talk about, but I did, Marc. I did happen to bump into someone.
Yeah.
You sent me a text when I sent an image of me and Hugh Jackson, the new Browns coach. You were very jealous.
I was furious. I'm not going to lie. I was like, last night I got to get up early. I'm going to get some rest, stay in, and I'm greeted with what is the worst case scenario for me, lifelong Browns fan, is Dan's hanging out with Hugh Jackson. I missed that. I was watching Anthony Jeselnik clips on YouTube.
Who?
Anthony Jeselnik, a friend of
I'm not aware.
Oh, you mean the host of the Rosenthal and Jeselnik Vanity Project, download on iTunes.
Well,
thanks, Marc.
That's good, Greg. But here's the good news. Colleen Wolfe, intrepid journo that she is, did manage to have a conversation with Hugh Jackson, and this is what came out of that.
Hey, Marc, how are you doing? I'd like to say hello to the dog pound. I hope you're in the dog pound, and let's go Brown.
All right, it's very loud here.
Specifically for Marc.
That is amazing. All right, you know what? I was very upset. I am no longer upset. You have done well by me. That is fantastic.
He's
what
welcoming
a coach.
you to the dog pound. You got to go watch a game there with him.
Oh, I'm gonna get there. Thank you.
All right, so that's and we'll keep going to a Madden party tonight and more parties through the weekend.
You had some crazy stories there too. There's athletes inappropriately acting towards some of the ladies. That's not good. Some dabbing on the dance
some
floor.
dabbing. Marshawn Lynch made an appearance. There was a Guy Fieri was in the house.
Wow.
Tommy Lee, the Motley Crue drummer, was DJing at one point. Jay Glazer's party brings the heat every year.
And Dan is the party guy, of course, of the group. He's been writing View from the 50. Everyone should check it out. But, you've also been showing off your athletic side. I mean, we're waiting for this game, so Dan was selfless enough to show off his athleticism during the week, and we're going to get to watch a little bit of that. There you go.
That's called a one-handed catch.
What a grab.
It's very difficult, as you're going to see in this video if you're watching on YouTube, to get out of that block of green. I don't even know, what would you call those things?
A styrofoam abyss.
Handsome Hank shot that, and he had quite a lot of fun watching me struggle to get out of that pit. I thought you were going to bring up our little ping pong match yesterday.
Oh, I wasn't even going to go there, but yeah, I destroyed you after
Greg,
a lot of trash talking.
I wouldn't call it destroyed, but Greg did in an exhibition.
Dispatched with.
In an exhibition match, Greg, who was the Martha's Vineyard prep team, was a tennis player.
Please.
That translated, obviously, to ping pong. TD, what's up, by the way? TD on the ones and twos.
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
How are you?
TD.
I know.
We got to get you. We got to get you some, spinning records.
No. I don't have no spinning records. Sydney and Brandon and the rest of the team are doing all the work back in LA. I'm just here so I won't get fined.
You're just like a prop, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Let's hope the prop doesn't fall on you this
Wes
time.
actually introduced me to someone. Good one. Wes actually introduced me to someone as the former producer, and I felt kind of slighted by it.
Wow.
I was like, no, I'm still involved. I'm still here.
Oh, Wes, that's a shot.
Shot? I thought it was accurate.
Well, TD's doing a good job helping us out today. And yes, Sydney and Brandon do an awesome job back in Culver City. Big show coming up today. We have a little news in the NFL regarding a report connecting Colin Kaepernick to the New York Jets. So I think we all have opinions on that. I know I certainly do. We're going to hand out some Super Bowl superlatives. Each of us will throw out some superlatives as we look ahead to the big game between, of course, Mark.
The Arizona Cardinals and New England Patriot. No.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's been
Big
a long
spot.
week.
Yeah, I'm tired.
It's been a long week. Yes, the Denver Broncos are in the Super Bowl, Mark. We're going to make our Super Bowl picks, and we're also going to get an old friend to join us a little later. He is known around the world. Well, it's his name, Conor Orr.
Maybe a little, or are you kidding me?
Maybe. Maybe we'll cap it with a little, or are you kidding me? So that's the show, and, let's get right to it and start with some news.
I'm just about that action, boss.
Yeah, it was strange. Everybody's dabbing at one point on the dance floor. At the Glazer party.
Were you?
I stayed out of it. I was just drinking my Greyhounds, minding my business. And then Lynch shows up, Marshawn, and the whole thing, everything went up a notch when he walks in the room. Changes the temperature a little bit.
He's that guy.
Well, that's interesting though. In a room full of professional athletes, star media people, like big stars, that he's still the big guy in the room.
He moves the needle.
He does. By the way, before we get too much further into the show, this show is sponsored, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Wes, here's your big chance. Do you like money?
I do. I love it.
Do you want more of it?
I want so much more of it.
Well, guess what? Give an old friend of the show a call, Scott. Scott Trade.
Scott, send me a lifeline. I need it.
That was very good. Wes on fire. Scott Trade. All your financial needs are there for you just with that one company. It's pretty amazing.
It's amazing. We begged for a sponsor for months, Dan did, and Scott Trade came through.
Yes, so let's get into the news now. We'll start with a quarterback situation with the Jets. Ryan Fitzpatrick had one of the best seasons in team history, barring, of course, the fourth quarter of Week 17. He is going to be a free agent. The expectation is that the Jets will bring him back, but the New York Daily News reported that Colin Kaepernick wants out of San Francisco and would like to play for the Jets. This report was disputed by other outlets. Manish Mehta, who's been on the show before, did the reporting for the Daily News. He says that Kaepernick wants to the Jets, and then Brandon Marshall, Jets wide receiver, who had really one of the best seasons in franchise history from a wide receiver, said, I don't want Kaepernick on this team. I like Fitz. He finally is in this offense with Chan Gailey, and he could be a big quarterback for many, many years. We'll start with you, Wes. Your thoughts?
I thought Brandon Marshall made some good points that Ryan Fitzpatrick's one of those guys who has total control of the offense. He has ownership of the offense. And Marshall was saying that he expects the best part of Fitzpatrick's career to be coming up in the next few years working with Chan Gailey, whom he worked with in Buffalo. So I thought those were good points. And I don't think just because a report comes out that Kaepernick's interested in the Jets, that also means the Jets are interested in him.
Yeah, it's the acid test will be in New York after Ryan Fitzpatrick's really excellent season. If they do go pursue other quarterbacks, it tells you a lot about what they think he can be next year and the year after. But
and that's even assuming he's there the year after.
Sure.
Who knows?
Yeah, Kaepernick though, I guess these players talk, and if he really does want out, and he hasn't even met Chip Kelly made it clear he hasn't even spoken to anyone in any even informal way that. Is the word on Chip Kelly that negative among players that he already wants out of that system?
Well, that's an interesting thought, and also the idea of what did I miss that Colin Kaepernick has any leverage to decide where he goes at all? I mean, this is not 2013 anymore. I think any player, I guess, has it would be cool to play here, but I don't know. I don't think his agent or whoever would be responsible for leaking this or getting this out there is doing him any favors. Kaepernick's just got to be a good soldier and figure out how to get his career back on track.
Yeah, it's strange to me. In one hand, Kaepernick, to me, makes a little sense in New York. He could work in a Chan Gailey type of system. He's the type of quarterback to get rid of the ball quickly. Maybe he learns that offense. That could fit him well. Have him compete with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Re-sign Fitzpatrick. He's the starter. Kaepernick's the backup. It's not that crazy. On the other hand, it's a strange report. I mean, let's be honest. We don't know that the 49ers are interested in getting rid of him at all. It's not up to Kaepernick at all. Even if it was, he's not going to dictate anything. So to me, it's a little meaningless where he wants to go. Maybe he wants to go to a bunch of teams. It just seems like one of those things sent out there, as Sean Payton would say, to make a splash, the splash report.
All right. In other news, this involving one of the Super Bowl teams, a quiet week for the Broncos. Took a turn Tuesday night. Ryan Murphy, who's a practice squad safety, was questioned in a prostitution sting. And for anybody, any student of the Super Bowl and Super Bowl memories will immediately think of Eugene Robinson of the Falcons. Was he a corner or safety?
Safety. It also might think of Stanley Wilson of the Bengals, who was popped for cocaine before the Super Bowl.
But Eugene Robinson, what made it a kicker for him, he got caught with a prostitute. It was like the same day or the day after he was given like the NFL Good Guy Award.
I think the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award.
Oh no,
or something like. I could be wrong, but I think so.
Obviously, Murphy is not at the same level as what Eugene Robinson was, who was
Stanley Wilson.
Stanley Wilson, of course, was with Cincinnati. But just something the Broncos didn't want to have to deal with. I think they made it go away in a pretty good way. It helped that he wasn't a big-time player.
Yeah, it makes you think of those two incidences in the past, but there's a couple of major differences. One, he's a practice squad player, so it doesn't really matter as much. And two, it happened so early in the week as opposed to the other events where they kind of were dealt that blow right before the game.
I feel bad for his brother because they arrested his brother and the prostitute. Ryan Murphy, who's on the Broncos, got out scot-free. I don't know how he negotiated it. He was not arrested or anything. He was just involved and questioned in this report. We don't know what went on. Really doesn't matter. As you say, it was a practice squad. But it shows what a quiet week this is. I happened to look this morning, see what has been doing well on the site. That's been the most popular story of the week.
Classic boss move, by the way.
You got to check those metrics out.
There's a lot of distractions. It's Super Bowl week. I'm tired. I'm busy. I got friends in town, but let me check in on those metrics.
Oh, yeah. Got to check it.
Right. Moving on. DeMarco Murray. There is now whispers and a report from our own media insider, NFL Network Media Insider. Ian
NFL
Rappaport.
Media Insider.
Oh, thank you. I've said it literally 3 billion times in the last 3 years. Ian Rappaport reports that the relationship between DeMarco Murray, the big free agent ticket last year, who had a really bad first year with the Eagles, the relationship between Murray and the Eagles is now potentially heading towards a situation where there could be a divorce as soon as this spring. He has a lot of money still coming his way, Mark. So you would think if that is a situation that happens, that would mean the Eagles really want him out of there. But this is just a bad marriage, and it doesn't seem like, whether it ends this year or next year, that it's going to have a happy ending.
I mean, probably the most disappointing signing of any player last season. And another Chip Kelly link here, he's creating chaos all over the league at this point of former and current players that don't want to be around him or want to get out of the situation they're in. I mean, Dallas would ever want him back. That'd be a very interesting reunion.
Well, Des Bryant wants him back. He tweeted at him, come at me, come back, bro. And I don't think he's going to go anywhere because of the money that it would cost Philadelphia. In theory, maybe they could find would the Cowboys trade for him? Jerry Jones is just crazy enough to do that, give up a late-round pick. I don't know. DeMarco Murray was here on Radio Row today, and his comments were that he's excited about the offense and blah, blah, blah. So I tend to think he will be on the team.
Chip Kelly stuck him with a lemon. I mean, DeMarco Murray 2 Decembers ago, we could see that he had lost a step. Chip Kelly knows the history on running backs with 500 touches in a season. He talked about it last summer, still signed him, and now the new regime, they saw the film from 2015. They don't want this guy as their primary running back.
So Murray's future up in the air. I'm looking forward to him ending up back with Dallas. I feel like it's inevitable. I had a tweet back in November that I would get to resurface my prediction.
Oh, wow.
That's what this is about, individual victories.
Honest question, is it too late for Chip Kelly to just simply vanish?
Why? Just a couple weeks ago, you were all excited that he landed in San Francisco.
I'm not
What's
feeling
happening?
excited right now.
I think Mark needs a break from football. I think it's more along that.
No. I just think it just seems to me like people talk and Chip Kelly
Conor Orr offset nodding his head.
Yeah, he's shaking his head. He's not happy. He loves Chip Kelly. Mark used to love Chip Kelly as recently as, 2 weeks ago you thought it was a good move.
Well, opinions change and alter over time.
And I think he misunderstood me, Greg. Conor was nodding when I said I think Mark needs a break from football.
Oh, I see.
Conor was like, yep. Get him away from it.
This is how I pay my rent, among other things. So let's continue to discuss football, please.
Okay, we shall,
You need more
Mark.
Scott Trade in your life.
That is true.
All right.
You need more scotch in your life.
That's what's happening in the NFL today. And Mark, yes, let's talk about football. You got rent. You got multiple kids. You got a wife.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to deliver.
Got to.
You got some proud parents. They listen to the show.
Yes, they do.
And Babs Sessler, of course.
More talk about Mark, please.
So let's talk
What
about
is happening?
the scene in Denver. Well, with the Broncos, you've been there all week. And why don't you tell us some takeaways from the week with the Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. There wasn't a lot going on, and you sort of wanted to dig in and find stuff. But the first thing for me was obviously Peyton Manning, and what happens with Peyton Manning is one of the bigger Super Bowl stories, singularly, in a long time. It's massive. And it also has to do with what happened with Brock Osweiler. So, as you predicted, Dan, I did write that Osweiler piece this week, which at this point is probably completely lost somewhere in the internet.
No, it's a great piece.
Yeah, sure.
It's still on the. It's still on
not
the
denying
site.
that. It's just it's no longer featured on our website. You'd have a hard time finding it.
I thought you took that story in directions that other people wouldn't have.
Well, I
didn't even read
it. I really it's a good transition, Dan. Probably didn't even give it a glance. But Osweiler was very impressive. And you talk about a guy who's going into free agency and wants to make a pitch. I mean, he's got the Broncos over a barrel, number one. Because if Manning's gone, he could not have handled this situation any better. So we went around and I asked a lot of people to talk about the differences between these two quarterbacks when they were on the field too, especially the wide receivers and their throwing style. And I was kind of surprised because I think that we look at their velocity and the way they deliver the ball so differently. And the wide receivers and their coach, almost to a man, kind of said, not really. I mean, Peyton's timing is unbelievable, but you got to adjust to anything that happens with any quarterback in there.
Well, I think Brock Osweiler could have made it harder on them if he played better and didn't get benched. I mean, he could be starting this game, which is such a crazy thing for him to be thinking if things had gone just a little differently. But watching them, and especially Peyton Manning this week, I think you did get a little bit of a different Peyton Manning. Him talking so much about his arm strength, for instance, and how it's been diminished ever since the neck surgeries and talking about some of his limitations. He's never really talked like that. He's talking like a guy who's about to play his last game.
I have a question for you, Mark.
Sure.
Are the Denver Broncos the most boring team you have ever covered?
Whoa, that's hard.
shots fired.
It's hard to say anything
Just
like
asking
that.
questions.
No, it's fair. I think that there were not, like, again, it was kind of a storyline free week with them, and that can be a good thing too. I again though, when you have a chance to sit down and talk to players that you don't hear much from, and especially coaches, you really start to learn a lot about these guys. And I was really impressed, especially with the defensive coaches.
I have a little bit of a Sessler, by the way, that Brock Osweiler will play a snap. At least one relevant series or two. I think we're going to see both quarterbacks.
That's not good news for Gregg's Courts of Thunder blog. That was part of our What's More Likely.
Have you been updating your women's tennis blog, Courts of Thunder, this week?
I thought it was I leave the company to start the Courts of Thunder if something happens, if Brock Osweiler plays or something like that.
Well, I think either way, you're probably out the door.
But I do
tennis passion
appreciate
is
the
large.
Twitter followers who have come at me asking me tennis questions now. I've tried to give some good analysis about the future of Angelique Kerber and whatnot.
Oh, my God.
And I will continue it.
Maybe Gregg needs less football.
Let's talk about Mark. Also, you dug in a little bit with the two big pass rushers, Von Miller and DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, I mean, these are the type of guys where every single person you talk to.
By the way, TD playing Connect 4 behind you.
TD, we can hear you playing Connect 4 by yourself. What are you doing?
What is happening with you?
I'm just here so I won't get fined, guys.
It's a sad and lonely existence there.
I mean, there's.
I'll stop playing.
This is the type of stuff. This is undermining the entire show.
Damashek's going to come.
Let me ask you a
Damashek's going to
question,
come down
TD.
and put a beating on you.
TD, answer this honestly.
Yeah.
Would you be playing Connect 4 during the R&B podcast?
I'll be jumping hot beats. You know,
Dropping hot beats.
Yeah,
Mark,
I do
go
actually
ahead.
have a turntable on that. So
That was a
You know what?
valiant effort to wedge yourself into the show
As you
again.
said to me privately, that's not even the most hip-hop podcast on NFL media, TD. So let's come correct.
You already used up your plug for your other show. There's enough people on the set right now that aren't loyal to the ATN cause, all right?
Start cutting some heads.
All right, go ahead.
Well, I mean, with DeMarco Murray and Von Miller, just the amount of admiration that came from the coaches, especially, and how I kind of joked with the outside linebackers coach. I mean, how easy is your job with these guys in the room? And he's like, DeMarco Murray is basically a teacher, and he's teaching everyone. The guy said, "I'm the one coach that can check out at 5 p.m. and go home." I mean, he was kidding, but he got it done. I mean, I wanted to focus on it because if they're going to have a chance to win this game, these two guys need to create the disruption and havoc they did against the Patriots 2 weeks ago.
We've talked a lot about Peyton Manning's legacy. Let me ask you guys this. Does DeMarco Murray need a Lombardi trophy to enter the Hall of Fame, or is he already a Hall of Famer?
Isn't it kind of weird, like, thinking about a pass rusher in the same way? Because it's really not fair to me really to even look at a quarterback that way. So I don't think that he needs a Super Bowl. It certainly would be nice for the resume in the same way it was very nice for Michael Strahan to go out with a ring.
Oh,
but I don't
that-
think he needs it.
I think Strahan, that was a big boost for
It
him.
was a huge
Yeah.
boost. He was not a guy that you always thought of as a lock until the very end of his career, and then he ended up only waiting 2 years to get in. I think it's a great point, though, that Ware is one of the best players of the last decade, but he's been pretty under the radar this week. Von Miller, to me, is one of the best defenders the last 5 years. If you're going to look at a matchup that you feel good about for the Broncos, it's those two guys against Michael Orr and Mike Remmers. I mean, if they want to take over the game and have that sort of Michael Strahan, Justin Tuck performance, they'll be remembered forever for that.
Yeah, I mean, his position coach said absolutely he's a Hall of Famer. And everyone's talking about wanting to win for Peyton, but there were a lot of defensive players that also said, we want to win one for DeMarco Murray. I mean,
Interesting.
it's another guy with that kind of attention.
And anybody else, anything else to report, Mark?
The only other thing, Shane Ray, who was, again, gushing over Von Miller and Ware, I looked down at his phone and it was like shattered. And I thought, this guy's making a lot of cash. He probably could do a lot with Scottrade. And I just said, what's going on with your phone, man? I mean, what happened here? And he dropped it in the elevator apparently that morning, and he was legitimately bummed out. He's like, it's kind of ruined my week.
It's one of the worst things that could happen. It's one of the worst things that could happen to a person.
It
my
is.
experience is your cell phone breaks, like the screen.
Top 5 worst things a human
Yeah.
being could endure, yes.
Can't a Super Bowl linebacker get some flunky to get him a new
Yeah,
phone?
you got to figure they can hook him up with a new phone.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
He was
not,
out
it's
of-
not team issued.
He was out of moves. He was not a happy person, so.
That's true. All right, so that is the scene over on the Denver Broncos side, and we did have an embedded reporter on the Panthers side, and he is a man that lives in a haunted mansion. I believe he's 27 years old.
27.
And somehow he owns a house, pays
Probably
a
has
mortgage.
Scottrade.
He's engaged.
The only guy here that owns a house, that's for sure.
I don't understand how he got himself in this predicament, but here he is now covering the Panthers Super Bowl week, so he's doing something right. Conor Orr.
All right.
Wow.
Oh, yes. Wait, let's say hello to this man.
How are you, man?
Wow, this is
awkward.
this is like
Yeah, I almost ran
this
over
is
the
like
edge.
Jordan being introduced. This is terrific.
If you're listening to the podcast, you're missing a really awkward move where 5 whites stood up. and
Conor and I did like a half fist bump
Yeah, that's
handshake. It was a
it
mess.
too. Fair point.
Conor, welcome to the Around the NFL podcast, Super Bowl edition.
Hi, guys.
Now, Conor's original idea when pitching ideas for what we're going to do for the show each week was, instead of me introducing him in that traditional way like just now, he was going to kind of do what? What was your original plan in your mind? $1 million idea, I thought.
Well, since I spend most of my day in like a house coat and shorts, I just kind of wanted to wander onto the set wearing essentially what I wear every day to come to work and then just deliver the news,
I would have liked that, just stumbling into us.
Wait, you wear a house coat? I thought those like went out of vogue in like 1820.
Have you ever worn a house? It's
Is
fantastic.
this like a Hugh Hefner thing?
It's like a flannel Hugh Hefner thing.
Can you send a picture of yourself in that outfit? Maybe we could put it on the around the NFL Twitter hand.
I think a lot of people would be into that.
So it's something that you can, if you go outside, can you continue to wear it? No, that's a no. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
Just curious.
Listen, the house coat. Conor wearing a house coat is genuine
So many
breaking
layers.
news right now.
There's going to be a Twitter account called Conor's House Coat.
All right, so Conor, you and again, thank you for joining us. Conor, you were covering the Panthers all week. Marc just shared his takeaways. Let's hear some from you.
One of the things that I thought was pretty amazing is that, everyone's always saying that Cam Newton is changing. He's evolved. He's a more mature player. I don't think that's necessarily true, but I think the Broncos or the Panthers surrounded him with a bunch of older guys that make everybody else more tolerable of him in a way. Like, so the Roman Harpers, Jericho Cotchers of the world, they understand that in order to win, everyone's got to get behind the quarterback, and so they're kind of almost a buffer in a way.
A buffer between him and who, though? The media or teammates or what?
I think teammates. I mean, I don't think that Cam is the easiest person to get along with necessarily. I don't think that's ever been the something that's debatable. He rubs some people the wrong way, but all these guys are like, hey, let's embrace it. If he's the way he is, let's all just get over it.
This is, I assume, the most time you've ever spent around Cam Newton. What was kind of like your takeaway just in seeing how he was dealing with the press and things of that nature?
I think it's great. I mean, we always beg for honesty from athletes, and he's been dead honest all week. I mean, he was calling out that poor journo, just asking the question about how much does it mean to you to be here? And Cam was just ready, man. As soon as he asked the question, he rolled his eyes, he smiled, and then he just blasted the poor guy. It was great.
He's kind of won Chris Wesseling over this week. Talk about breaking news.
Well, I've always liked Cam Newton. I always thought that his preening was a little over the top.
Well, you famously have called him a preening schmo,
Which he
on
is.
the podcast multiple
He's
times.
absolutely a preening schmo. That doesn't mean I have to hate him. I just want him to stop dancing on first downs. Get in the end zone, dance all you want. And again, we've talked about this on Tuesday. You can have a more nuanced take. You don't have to hate him. But I have liked him. Like Conor said, we always ask for honesty. He's been honest. He's been funny. The guy asked him today a really stupid question, why are you wearing socks with sandals? And he just looked at him and said, why are you wearing jeans with shoes? I mean,
Love it.
And to me, that encapsulated the whole week. That's about as in-depth analysis as you get.
Yeah, and yesterday even I was surprised. Chris, I don't know if you texted me or something, and you're like, I have a confession that Cam's kind of won you over. You like him a lot more by the end of this week than you did before.
Not only did Wes wear a blazer today, a suit jacket, really, he also has a solid gold, like 4,000 carat Super Bowl 50 pin.
Oh yeah.
What is it? Are you peacocking on the show today? What's happening?
They gave them to all of us for free. I'm the only one who looked in my envelope.
Fair enough.
I'm going
What else?
peacocking.
Josh Norman, by the way, of course.
He's a big Ultimate Warrior fan, first of all.
Yeah, Josh Norman, Ultimate Warrior fan.
I asked him today, like, it was just him and I said, who's your hero growing up? It can't be a football player. So, and he's like, what do you mean? And I said, literally anybody in the entire world. And he said, well, I want to be the Ultimate Warrior. So I said, that's great, man. That's what he is. He's loud. He's stronger than everybody else. He's faster than everybody else. I love it. I mean, you talk about having to warm up to someone. I went in thinking about Josh Norman the way that you felt about Cam Newton, and I walked away completely different. I think he's fantastic.
Well, that is our editor back in Culver City, David Ely, who's a huge Panthers fan. There has been a controversy between Conor Orr and David Ely all year on Slack.
Quit slacking. Sign up for Slack today.
And it's because you have relentlessly gone on against Josh Norman, as have others, and so you've been won over. Impressive.
I think that Josh Norman and Cam Newton, people like to talk like you were saying, Cam Newton hasn't matured, the people around him have matured. I just think they've matured as players. Josh Norman was an okay player, and now he's a good player. Like I talked to a coach this week who said he's always been the most confident guy in the room. He just got better. And I think that's what Cam Newton, he's always been such a unique quarterback. This year and the last year, he's become more like other great quarterbacks where he goes through his reads and he's good from the pocket and he looks off safeties, and that's kind of where the growth comes from.
Yeah, by the way, Scott Trade, your moment is now. We're going to hand it to Cam Newton for Super Bowl Sunday. That's a big honor. Got to pay the bills, folks.
It is his moment.
It's his season. It's his moment. And I think one of the articles I wrote was, is this the greatest dual threat season of all time by any quarterback? does he have a chance to be the greatest dual-threat quarterback in history?
What else, Conor? What else can you tell us?
I thought that Ron Rivera played his team so beautifully this week. I mean, you talk about a guy, the Broncos losing a practice squad player in a prostitution sting. Ron Rivera brings up Eugene Robinson. He brings him out to talk to the team. The next day, those players were legitimately...
Wait, the Eugene Robinson came in,
talked
talked
to
about
the
his
Panthers.
Hooker heat.
And, so then the next day was their off day. And you're talking to these guys. San Francisco is an hour away from where you're staying. Nobody was going to San Francisco. I mean, nobody was leaving that hotel. They were legitimately terrified, but in a good way. I mean, I think he kind of scared the opportunity into them, which that's what good
Conor,
head coaches do.
Didn't you wrote a great piece about how they've like torn down the connecting doors in their hotel room and they're playing like video games and stuff together?
They're acting like we totally would if we were given the opportunity. They like busted in the deadbolted door of the conjoining hotel rooms and created like a no alcohol, no women nightclub.
Well, that's not us.
Well, what's the name? Club Shiznit, right?
Club Shiznit.
I love it. That's a fantasy football team name for next year, everybody. Mark, by the way, while we're here, can you just tell the audience about your scare, your near miss, a prosto sting in your past?
Absolutely not. And I'll tell you what. I think it's actually. Well, we don't need to go back down that road, but it's a serious topic, to be honest. And I don't think that the Broncos, when they spoke about it.
Wait, Mark is pivoting it out of this with like a dead serious point?
When Kubiak spoke about it, he put all we feel disappointed for the player. Well, there's other aspects to this, so sorry to take it down a serious road.
No, but what happened with you, with your prostos thing?
Literally nothing. Stop trying to cook things up that don't exist
Mark
on
needs
an international podcast.
The wild eyes are coming out.
Yeah, they're out. I didn't think I'd get wild eyes on that. I got to be honest with you. All right, so Conor, hey, stick around for the rest of the show, buddy, because you know why. There's one thing.
Conor suddenly has a look of panic in his eyes. This wasn't planned. No.
Yeah, I didn't research this far. I didn't read the note.
I hope you're ready because a little later, we're going to ask you a question. Are you kidding me?
I'm ready, baby.
All right.
Let's go.
All right, let's now move on, talk a little Super Bowl superlatives. And, this will be our chance. It's kind of a prediction segment, if you will, but at its heart, it allows us to kind of get a little detail about what people will remember Super Bowl 54 when the dust settles. We're clears?
The dust does something. It's not in your way anymore.
It settles.
Yeah.
It's not going to be dusty after this game is over. That much is for sure.
All right, so let's go around the horn here and each share a Super Bowl superlative. We'll start with the Quiet Storm with them wild eyes.
All right, so most likely to yank the Lombardi Trophy out of Peyton Manning's hands, run 100 yards across the stadium, out of the tunnel, into his car, and drive away forever. John Elway.
Oh, so it's going to be this one's also for John.
That's exactly right. I don't think
Scenario.
he wanted to get rid of Tim Tebow because he didn't like the glare being taken away from Elway. And when Peyton Manning gets a little bit of a bigger moment than Elway went out on, I think he's going to say, I can't handle it. I got to take that Lombardi Trophy back from me.
Mark's still trying to get back at John Elway for the drive.
John Elway, by the way.
30 years.
One quick take. John Elway, that guy is still going to the gym. We saw him up in the stands during media day, and he's got some biceps.
Not to go back to the point, but if you really want to get rid of him, a little prosto sting frame job, Mark.
Oh, okay. Not commenting.
It's a very hot topic with Mark. Very serious business. Wes, give us a superlative.
The most likely to walk off into the sunset.
Wait. Do we want to guess, or should we guess? Well, Peyton Manning would be the obvious guess, but you're not an obvious man, Wes.
That's been the talking point that, you can't talk about Peyton Manning without mentioning a sunset or a rodeo.
All right, so who is it? It's true.
It's not Peyton Manning because he's not going to win the game.
Ooh.
It's Jared Allen, who kind of has been a shadow of his former self over the last 2 years, entering his mid-30s. Borderline Hall of Famer, but I think he knows there's not much left in the tank. Go out with the Lombardi Trophy.
Yeah, you want to talk about another guy who could burnish a Hall of Fame career if he had 2 sacks in this game, does something memorable. He was having
That's a good point.
A good game in the divisional round. He did not have a good season, but he had a monster performance against the Seahawks. So it wasn't that long ago. Of course, he's now coming off an injury, but wasn't that long ago. He played pretty well.
Isn't he hovering around the top 5 all-time sack leaders?
Something like that.
So you give him a ring. I don't know. Is Jared Allen a Hall of Famer? I wouldn't think so, but this certainly, like Michael Strahan, would help the case. Conor. Give us a superlative, baby.
Most likely to haughtily answer a question about media doubters after the game.
I'm going to go with Josh Norman.
I'll go with Josh Norman.
Peyton Manning, baby. Come on.
Whoa.
Come on.
Interesting.
Do we not
What an
not
upset.
see this playing out where, after the game, the Broncos edge it out and they're like, Peyton, what about all the people that said you didn't have the arm strength? And he's like, oh, guys, I don't read it, but maybe, hey, Woody Page, I'll throw a football at you or something like that. That exact thing is happening when the Broncos win the Super Bowl.
You're
But they're
so
not going
right.
to.
I hate that question, too. Hey, you were one of the doubters.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, remember when I didn't think you were going to win this game? If you're going to say that, I'd respect you.
If they win this game, if the Broncos win the game and Peyton Manning does the sunset move, the old sheriff, Wes, that's what they call him.
Sheriffs, rodeos, sunsets. It's like a 19th century Western.
You think he's going to go the Michael Jordan route and just use like one of the greatest moments of his life to just be spiteful and go at reporters and people that wronged him?
That's what I would do. I mean,
Yeah. That will be his Hall of Fame speech, like MJ did in '09. But that's an interesting one. If they win, Jim Nantz is gonna they're gonna do like 48-hour coverage of the game.
Oh, boy.
Just talking about Peyton Manning, and we won't be watching it. We'll be busy. All right, I'll throw it out there now. This one's a little wordy, so I'll have to read it. Most likely to be arrested for trespassing, disturbing the peace, public lewdness, peddling counterfeit merchandise, and carrying a concealed Creed album outside the stadium.
What was that guy's name?
Owen Daniels.
It is Scott Stapp, the former lead singer of Creed, who earlier in the week, he thought this was going to be a big week for his career. He tried to make some moves, a power play about maybe recording a song
That's what you read into that.
with the Panthers. And I think since it's gone a little quiet, the Creed storyline, he's going to show up at the stadium demanding some, direct conversations with Panthers people. And it's going to probably lead to a tasing. I'm sorry.
I think that's absolutely an accurate assessment of how this is going to play out.
Sorry, Scott. Gregg?
My superlative, most likely to inspire angry letters to the editor.
Obviously Cam Newton.
Well, you would think it would be Cam Newton, but it's not. It's Von Miller, because he's going to get some of those sacks, and he's going to be shaking his junk, whatever he likes to do.
Okay.
And it's the most offensive thing in sports.
How is that offensive?
I don't get
What?
offended by anything, and I'm not offended
Gregg.
by this. But he pretty much simulates a sex act after every
That's only
everything. And when
offensive in rural towns
you put this
47
on the
years
big
ago.
stage, I think people are going to get angry.
Gregg, this is not very like you for you to make this move. But
I
you're
don't know.
saying not you. You're saying it's going to come from other people.
Right, it's
I
not
thought-
coming from me. It was trying to say that I really think Von Miller is going to have a good game and take care of Mike Remmers.
I thought
That's part of it, too.
I thought the league office actually came down on him earlier this season. And
He
it
did, but I
made
don't
him
know
tone
if
it down.
his AFC Championship celebration was strong, and it was in
He's
people's
got an
faces.
international audience to play to.
He's like he's
Gregg.
like one Super Bowl win from recording like a 2 Live Crew type album. I'm looking forward to it. I got another one, by the way.
Ooh, let's do it.
I'll throw it out there. This one's kind of like a serious one. The Creed one was like, I was doing a bit, but this is serious. Most likely to have a Timmy Smith/Chris Matthews WTF game.
Ooh.
Any guesses?
Well, I mean, those guys
Philly
came
Brown.
out of
Ronnie
nowhere.
Hillman?
Jericho Cotchery.
Oh, former
interesting.
Jet.
I mean,
Oh,
because
yeah, the
Hillman
Jet
wouldn't be
connection.
totally what WTF, but a nice little Jericho Cotchery game. It sticks it to Jets fans a little bit. He has 9 catches for 132 yards and a touch. Best chance.
That's not happening.
Well, while we're throwing out extras, I have one. Most likely to inspire a breathless, almost tearful, and excited post-game post by Chris Wesseling.
Wow.
Owen Daniels again.
Mike Tolbert.
No.
I love these posts because Wes, when he digs in, he'll dig into his old book collection. He'll have a nice anecdote from the past that will tie in neatly with the present.
It's got to be a guy he's loved for a long time, and that's Jonathan Stewart. Because see Jonathan Stewart getting 130 yards in a blowout, and maybe he doesn't win the MVP, but what a moment for him after a lot of setbacks in his
The
career.
subject of a Wes special. I like that.
He was one of the charter members of the Stable of Boys.
There you go.
Stable of Boys. I forgot about the Stable of Boys. Let's make in the offseason, bring back Stable of Boys talk. All right, so that's a good superlative seg, guys.
Well
see.
done by
Good
all.
stuff.
Everybody's
mostly.
doing really good work today. All right, let's now move. It's time. We've been teasing it for 2 weeks. if you read between the lines, you might know who we think's going to win the game. But only now will you find out what each of the heroes believe will happen on Sunday at Super Bowl 50 with halftime entertainment Coldplay. By the way, is that the Coldplay press conference today, Thursday? And that is a charming Brit, right up there with Handsome Hank. Very charming British man. Charmed the pants off all the ladies in my section at the press conference.
Literally?
There were literally 4 awes. And one woman in the stand that asked a question in the press conference said, "Oh, and can I also get a hug?" And he kind of laughed it off. But then when the press conference ended, he's walking up the stage and he's like, "Who wanted the hug?" And then he hugs the woman, and again you hear, "Aw." And then I sent, because I had it on video, I sent it to my wife, Emily, a big Chris Martin fan, and she said she watched it 5 times.
Where was his
Charming.
offspring named Apple?
Apple and Moses. The first question from Kevin Frazier, the hard-hitting journo of entertainment, the entertainment world. His first
Be careful
question
here.
was,
He does work for NFL Network as well.
Okay. His first question was, will Apple and Moses be watching the game? The first question of the entire press
Well,
conference.
you got to get the obvious one out of the way, and then.
What's the deal with celebrity culture, guys? Well, I mean, come on.
At this point, charming Brit is almost redundant. It's like, we get it, guys. You're charming.
Affable, even.
Way to go.
Greg annoyed
country.
with all of Britain, which is most of our podcast listenership.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the predictions. Again, we'll go around the horn. Mark, give us a final score, a game MVP, and one bold prediction. Or a Sessler, as we know it.
Well, hold on. See, there's a board behind TD. I don't know if he's still watching the show himself, TD, but all these players that have visited this set have picked almost unanimously the Panthers.
Yeah.
Well, they're all wrong.
Whoa!
The Denver Broncos are going to. You say they're boring. They've had a boring week. That's fine. They're not going to be boring.
I'm not the only one who said that.
No, I think many agree. They're going to win this game
Including you.
28-27. It's going to be fantastic. The MVP obviously is going to be Peyton Manning. He's going to play one of the great games. It's just going to come out of nowhere.
High-scoring game.
Huh?
High-scoring game.
Absolutely. And my bold prediction is that in the locker room, the Panthers locker room, Conor won't like this, Josh Norman will be saying that he's been overlooked for the MVP award because it's been given to the winning team's quarterback. And it will fall on deaf ears this time.
He deserves it.
That is remarkable. 3 weeks ago, Mark, you had the eyes out, and you were saying there's no way the Broncos can win in the divisional round because it would be the worst AFC title game and the worst Super Bowl ever if they survived that game. And now you got them winning the Super Bowl.
3 weeks ago, I loved Chip Kelly. I was delusional. I'm starting to gain clarity.
He's bewitched, bedeviled, and enchanted
I
by
love
the Denver
that Mark's picking
Broncos.
the Broncos.
Mark has officially picked every team he's covered 4 straight seasons. So I'm glad you can keep that up.
I was right last year.
All right, Mark, I love that pick. You're gutsy, Wes.
I've got Panthers winning 29-16. Cam Newton MVP. Bold prediction, Graham Gano sets a Super Bowl record with 5 field goals.
Love it.
Hubba. That will get people crazy.
Love it when you get some Gano into the show.
He's going to hit field goals of like 38, 24, 39, 41.
Big leg. He's going 60.
And 50. That's pretty good, Wes. That's a good pick. But can Conor make a better pick?
Yes. I have the Panthers winning 41-29.
Okay. Interesting score.
MVP is Shaq Thompson.
You love Shaq Thompson.
Wow.
And my bold prediction is that the Broncos will miss an extra point in the first quarter.
That's the most Conor Orrish bold prediction ever.
Yeah. You're going out the way you came in with just bizarre both picks. Well, the pick's not bizarre.
Conor didn't want to be right on too many things, so after picking the Panthers, he had to ruin it with Shaq Thompson.
Just you wait and see, baby. 99-yard fumble return this game, turns it on its side.
Wow.
Right there.
We've had mostly entertaining Super Bowls in the last 10 years or so. The last stinker was the Broncos. It's going to be another stinker, in my opinion. I see it as Panthers 34-13. Cam wins MVP. And my bold prediction, Cam Newton, the first quarterback in Super Bowl history to rush for over 100 yards.
Oh, I love it.
I like that one.
Thank you.
I would go with that.
And finally, the boss.
I think it won't be a big blowout, like you said, but it won't be an entertaining game in the fourth quarter. I have the
Buzzkill.
Panthers winning this game. I believe in the neighborhood of 27-16. Cam Newton as the MVP.
Copies off my score.
And K'Wan Short is going to get another safety. Another safety helps ruin the Broncos early in the game. This time it's the defense that pulls it off. It's not just a mistake. He's going to get 3 sacks.
Wow, there you go. 4 of the 5 heroes take the Panthers to win handily. Mark going all in on the Sheriff. Who could have saw that coming? All right, we're running out of time now, so let's get straight to it. Conor, like I said in the intro, he's a young man with a lot of responsibility, both at home and at the office. So what he needs to do every once in a while, just to keep his sanity, is to get some things off his chest. And that's why we created the segment, Are You Kidding Me?
Yeah. There it is.
Or Are You Kidding Me?
I love it.
Get us going, Conor. What do you got?
I was on a heavy A-lister flight out here to Hawaii, because I went to the Pro Bowl before I came here to the Super Bowl. And I've noticed sort of a class system developing in airline travel that I'm not really happy with. And that is, if you're in first class, you're allowed to use any bathroom. But God forbid there's an emergency and we need to cross the velvet rope, we're done.
Wow.
This is an outrage.
It's not just a flight war, it's a class war. Go on.
I think.
Wait. I mean, that's awesome shredding. I don't know who does it, but
We need to
That's
get
actually
a live,
me. That's
we need
Oh,
to
yeah,
get
that's
a live
Conor's
guitarist next year. How
Yeah.
great would that be?
All right, go on, Conor.
I just feel like there's like this really condescending velvet rope that they actually put up on the flight. And it's like, okay, you can't come in here, but if we need to come out there, like if we need to take your space, totally fine.
It's an insult.
I mean, I'm totally with you on that. It doesn't seem right, Conor. It feels like we should all be seen as human beings, but instead they're both gods and mere mortals. Anything else, Conor?
I don't really think so. I spent the week in Hawaii. It mellowed me out a little bit.
Ooh,
it's
interesting.
You don't have anything to complain about Hawaii or anything?
Wait, so the segment's essentially done.
I figured Or Are You Kidding Me would last until my wedding, and then that would be the end of.
All right, well,
anger.
you got some things off your chest. That's very important. I do want to say, by the way, we had sent out a word on Twitter about our meetup on Friday at 7:30 p.m. here in San Francisco. It is still happening, but the venue will change, unfortunately. We didn't do the proper research. The original place we sent out is booked. They're closed for a private event.
They're
in the future,
very
maybe when you're supposed to meet with a lot of people from all around maybe the world, you should double check these things. We did not.
Or maybe we should have booked it for a private
Well,
event.
it was booked by the Jeselnik show.
Thank you, Mark.
So just Friday. How do you get off on that being a plug too?
I don't know. He's the one who brought it
This
up.
aggression
Well,
will
I
not
forgot
stand,
the acronym,
man.
so I just went Jeselnik.
Anyway, so Friday night, 7:30 in San Francisco. Check out on Twitter @AroundTheNFL and our personal handles for the details where it will be. Make sure you check that out. And that is it for the Thursday edition of the Around the NFL podcast. The next time you hear from us, we will be at KNBR in San Francisco, where we'll be doing our 3rd annual post-Super Bowl recap show. There is no other podcast in the business that's doing that show. Right, TD? No. I should do like a rap like you do on the R&B show about this. I'm not prepared.
I would love to hear that right now.
Yeah. Nate Burleson, I should take notes from him. But we will be doing a show Sunday night from KNBR. We're going to get that. It won't be on KNBR. It'll be a podcast. And we'll get that up as soon as possible. But we're going to use their studio.
Big mistake by them.
And then retire to a bar afterwards, and we all look forward to it.
Yummy.
So get excited. Super Bowl 50 is almost here. This is Dan Hanzus signing off for Quiet Storm, the mailman, Mr. Conor Orr, the boss. And I see black tie over there. Take date. Till the Super Bowl.